When you're talking, obviously, or when you're looking at things, the most important thing is people's health. That's the most important thing. But many of us tried to say something when it was happening. And as you can see, it says during the COVID-19 pandemic, YouTube deleted channels and removed over 1 million videos for violating its medical misinformation policy by contracting local health authorities and World Organization guidelines. So there you go. Fauci, Charles, I haven't broken this video down because it's just too much when I saw Charles yesterday. But when you look at it all, YouTube have listened to Fauci, who in this discussion is being ripped to pieces. He won't answer anything. He can't answer anything. Do you know why? He can't even say no, because they're going to say, why did you say no? And it goes on. So he just says, for the Fifth Amendment, he's not answering anything. Because he is now blamed for misreading everything and not putting forward proper information that could have changed things, or people could have taken different drugs. And they poo-pooed Ivermectin. Absolutely amazing. When you look at this whole sort of talk that he's been put in, it almost reminds you of the Second World War. And now he's being put in front of this panel, you know, pardoned. He is pardoned. Oh my God. Someone in one of the videos says he needs to go to prison. He's just a character, but his character needs to be poofed off. Nobody liked Fauci when it was happening. Many said it was wrong. So YouTube need to change this and re-erect all the videos they deleted. It is 5-6 years too late. But that's what they need to do on this evidence of this committee. You cannot have all these people saying there's something wrong, but it's still a game, and that's still video. Still, the videos are still not real. They've been made on purpose. But you know, the people got punished over and over again. They got punished by not going to work, children not going to school, punished by taking drugs which weren't correct, and punished by having their channels deleted, punished by having to go to the hospitals and sue independently when actually it was... Anyway, I'm just going to look a word up. Whatever they're doing, I mean, it's all a game. Probably nothing will happen because Fauci's been pardoned. But it says an infectious disease. Well, what was causing that? Was it the flu? Or was it something they're being given that was causing the infectious disease to spread worldwide? I don't know, but anyway, we're now going to listen to this video.
I certainly understand why you needed a pardon. When it comes to Ivermectin, which, by the way, because I was contacted by so many people, I referred them to doctors who actually had the courage and compassion to treat vaccine-injured individuals. It works. You had a interview on CNN on August 29th of 2021, but you said there's no evidence that Ivermectin is helpful. On that exact same day, and I've got the studies right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60-70% efficacy of Ivermectin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, I hope the American people listen very carefully to Chairman Paul's opening statement. I think it's a stunning indictment of the actions you've taken that have been so destructive to global health. I certainly understand why you needed a pardon. I certainly understand why, on the advice of counsel, you're not answering any questions, because I think it'd be almost impossible for you to answer the questions truthfully without really demonstrating what you did, your culpability, self-incriminating. We have, all of us, has prepared a lot. I've been deluged with questions to ask Dr. Anthony Fauci. There are so many legitimate questions that deserve answers, and now you're not willing to provide those answers. So with my limited time, I'm going to talk about things that my investigation have revealed that have not been adequately answered and, quite honestly, haven't been adequately covered by the legacy media. I'll kind of combine the questions into kind of one, but I certainly, let's put up the last COVID chart. I was warned pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy that you've called a vaccine, but it really falls under the definition of gene therapy. So I was going to ask you, were you carefully monitoring the safety surveillance systems like VAERS and VSafe that literally were deluged with complaints? Currently, worldwide, there have been almost 1.7 million adverse events reported to the VAERS system. Of those, over 39,000 were deaths. And of those deaths, 24% occur on the day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days. 24%, which, by the way, just happens to be the same percentage that a Rasmussen poll pointed out the American public believe 24% of the American public believe they know somebody who died of the experimental gene therapy. So again, I was certainly interested in asking you whether or not you were following this as carefully as I was. It's not my responsibility to follow safety surveillance systems, but I did. And by the way, when I published, this is actual government information. When I published it and people had me on their shows, they would be censored by Facebook. They would be deplatformed. I think largely at the behest of the actions you took to make sure that disinformation wasn't spread. This wasn't disinformation. This was the truth. So I was going to ask you whether you knew Dr. Marks. I think you do know him. He's the head of CBER. He's the man who is in charge of approving vaccines and surveilling for the safety. My investigation shows that on March 1st of 2021, less than 3 months after the emergency use authorizations, he was warned by Dr. Anna Scharsman, data mining expert, that the algorithm they were using to analyze VAERS data was going to hide in mass safety signals. 26 days later and 3 months consecutively after that, they did data runs with a new algorithm that unmasked those safety signals. They showed dozens of safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, cerebral artery occlusion, basal ganglia stroke, agonal rhythm, Bell's palsy, and pulmonary infarction. Your diaries now show that you actually suffered pulmonary infarction in, I think, probably June 2021. I was just wondering whether it ever went through your mind that maybe that injection, all those boosters you took, might have caused that. And the question I was going to, and I'll ask this question, were you ever made aware of the fact that Peter Marks was warned that the algorithm was going to hide the safety signals? And were you told that senior FDA officials were given shown dozens of safety signals associated with the COVID injection?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
When you look at the figures, so these are physicians leaving, doctors. They're saying they don't know the total. But I sort of put it in my mind that half the national health left. Maybe it wasn't that many, but a great big section did, which would have caused so many problems. Not talking about that. Are they, when they've given Fauci a pardon? And later on you'll see that it was Biden that did it. Look at that. 110 billion people have died associated with lockup. That is just incredible. And he got a pardon in the game. Oh dearie, dearie me, what do we live in if someone is able to get rid of such an amount of people? Fauci was pardoned by Biden. Yeah, we'll give you all this money. Just go out there and brave. Oh, it's Charles' game. It's just a computer game. sick or what?
Next area I want to go through is in that same month of March 2021, an employee at NIH, Dr. Nath, led a team of researchers who were diagnosing and treating individuals who'd never had COVID but were severely injured by the genetic therapy injections. Dr. Nath told those individuals, stay quiet. We want to make sure that we gather all the information and then release it to doctors so they can treat people like yourself. There was a concerted effort, and I'll enter this into the record. It appears inside NIH to quash Dr. Nass publishing that study. It finally was put on a preprint server with telling no one, and I think about May of 2022. I think what's noteworthy about this is Dr. Nath told the injured participants that early treatment, early intervention was crucial for them to be treated. And yet within the NIH, they were questioning what was Dr. Nath doing. They didn't want to publish that because, I want to take time searching for it, because publishing it would create vaccine hesitancy, which is what we continue to hear time and time again, is the reason they didn't promote they lied about the safety signals they were seeing. Throughout the pandemic, I always push early treatment. We've got things in here where, you were really concerned about remdesivir because it was untested, but hydroxychloroquine, yeah, it was an approved drug. Maybe some safety issues, but we had a great deal of experience with it. All of a sudden, you had the Surgisphere study. It was retracted within 2 weeks because it was completely false. Totally blew up the use of hydroxychloroquine. And then when it comes to ivermectin, which, by the way, because I was contacted by so many people, I referred them to doctors who actually had the courage and compassion to treat vaccine-injured individuals. It works. But I was going to ask you whether you were involved in the FDA attack on ivermectin. You had a interview on CNN on August 29th of 2021, where, again, I just don't want to take time to find the exact quote, but you said there's no evidence that ivermectin is helpful. On that exact same day, and I've got the studies right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60, 70% efficacy of ivermectin. The same day you say there's no evidence, there's all kinds of evidence. Loved ones had to go to hospitals, had to sue hospitals. Just, would you try it? So I would want to know, to what extent were you involved in sabotaging hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and did you do that because you knew the only way you get an emergency use authorization for these drugs, these experimental gene therapy, was if there was no effective treatment, you couldn't get the emergency use authorization. So is that why you helped sabotage these cheap generic drugs in favor of remdesivir, which, by the way, nurses, are you aware of the fact that nurses called it run, death is near?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
But let me end on this note, because this just came to light. We've got 11 million pages of documents. We also have other people who were in the room. But now you actually lied to your own diary. On March 27, 2020, you wrote in your diary, "To my surprise yesterday, the POTUS sent a letter to governors outlining a plan to reopen county by county while monitoring the spread of virus in the low-risk counties. This was half-baked and never shown to Deb or I before it was sent out. So we have evidence that, in fact, you were fully aware of it and certainly approved, if not authored it." So I was just simply asking you, is that true? Did you literally lie to your own diary? Did you know of that letter sent out to governors about reopening county by county? Again, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask you to ask the witness to just answer that one simple question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.